Right, today we've got Mike in. You've seen him before, I'm sure. Coming in for a new fitting today, custom fitting. So it's his first one that's specially built for him. Obviously, you can see desperately needs a haircut after a 4 months of lockdown. But today we're going to fit it. I'm going to show you some bits and bobs. I'm sure you're happy to be here.
Really excited, really excited. It's been a long time, and I think it's actually longer than the first time you cut it. So
I think it is, to be fair. It's definitely out there, I must admit. But obviously, we're going to fit this new one on today. We'll go through it all with you, show you how we do it, and we'll be there. Right, so obviously, got to get all this gunk off, all the glues and tapes that we've used. So we're just going to spray some C22 on. Lovely smell, smells like citrus. I say that as I'm running low. There we go. I then use exfoliating glove, which is always going to feel nice. Just to get most of the stuff off.
Only the best when I come here.
That's it. And you see it comes off quite quick when you give it a bit of a rub with a glove on. And now we're just going to wash the hair, and then we're going to be cutting it afterwards. Cut that 4 months worth of growth off. Right, so next part is getting it a nice haircut. Get it nice and short on the sides for him. And then obviously we're going to shave the bit of fluff at the back. That's growing back. So it was one of those ones where I think you always look your worst when you're like this, and it's one of them I don't even like looking at myself without my hair on.
yeah, yeah.
So you're getting used to it now though? And
Extremely, very much so. To the point now where I mean, I don't mind looking at myself with the hair off. It's fine, but yeah, I do miss it when it's not.
yeah,
there.
you're kind of happy when it goes back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people sometimes ask us, and it's like, what's the worst part about it? And I always say the worst part about it is having the regrooms or the fittings, because over so long you don't identify. Almost like you don't identify as a bald man.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
You feel like this is what I look like.
Yeah.
And this is the person I look like for an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
once a month. To look how I want to look. So it is an odd feeling, I must admit.
Indeed.
But we'll get this nice and short for him, get it all blended in, and then we're going to shave the top of it nice and tight so we can get a good bond. And then that'll be nice and attached, and we've got to cut all the long locks off then.
Yes.
Right, so we've got Mike's template. So we always aim for around about 4 fingers. It all depends on the person's hairline, to be fair. So some people have hairlines that are like 3 fingers or whatever, quite low. Mike's got a decent sized forehead. So we make sure it's in roughly the right spot. And then we do is get the clippers, little clippers, and it's the weirdest tram line you're ever going to have in your life. And we just basically stencil it out. All the way around. All I do is just put them in like a baseline so that we know where to shave all the excess hair out of, and that gives Mike, when he does his regrooms at home, which I'm sure there'll be some videos of that at one point, where he'll know roughly where to shave to. So that's that. I'm just going to take all the hair off the top.
Because obviously these are extreme circumstances. This is like 3 or 4 months growth, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
I mean
normally it would be a really.
Usually it's a few mil, or with mine, when I take mine off, it's a little bit here and a little bit there. Obviously, a lot of people during lockdown have had to like struggle through it a little bit. I mean, it's one of the unfortunate side of things of what's happening for system wearers, but
it's easy enough to do at home on your own, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it is something that's.
I mean, if you've got someone to help, it's so much easier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But obviously, I can do mine on my own. I know that some people say that's because I do it for a living, but I was doing it on my own before I did this for a living. Just when I was a general barber. So it is something you can learn quite easily if you take the time and do it right. And
it's worth it for the results.
Exactly.
Worth it for the results.
Right, so the next step is we're going to shave his head with a razor, get it nice and tight, put some scalp protector on, which stings really nicely. And then
He says that every time, but it's not stump-ons for me. I
just like seeing people like struggle with it. So then we do that. We get a nice bond on. We get it attached. Right. So now we've got a razor cut it, the top, just to make sure it's nice and tight. Yeah, any little hairs can kind of stop the bond. I mean, some people bond better than others. So some people get sensitive scalps, so we don't razor it. We tend to just use clippers. But with Mike, we've razored it before. We know he's all right with it. We're just going to razor it off. It always feels a bit weird when you razor it off as well, because it feels like it's pulling. But it's just the usual feeling. Dry off slightly. Now for my favourite part. Bit of scalp protector. And hopefully it stings a little bit. Oh, that's just so disappointing. So next bit is, we're going to get him up, dry his hair off, get the system ready to be attached, and then get on to the next bit. So, now we're just going to put it on. We're going to create some lines at the front, which is what we do for our front touch-ups. We're going to put them on so we know roughly where the hairline's going to be. Place it on, just make sure it's all right. And then we'll go tape it up. I'll probably come in here and tape it up, to be fair. Tape it up, because we have tape at the back, glue at the front for Mike. And that'll be it. We'll get it attached, get it cut, and we'll see him looking all dapper at the end. So, just going to put this one on roughly in the right place. Sorry if you can hear the other barber up there making a silly noise. So what we do is we're looking for the hairline roughly. We're going to ask Mike to raise his eyebrows for us. Make sure it's not in any big creases. We're going to move it ever so slightly back. And again, that's better. Relax. I always look for that 4 fingers kind of mark. To, 4 fingers for a forehead by all accounts, or so I was told. Don't know how true that is, but get the dots on like that. So we know where to go up to with the glue, so anywhere above that will be fine. And we always do a couple of little dots here, just so that we know when we're rolling it back, if those dots touch, we're going on in the right place. Right then, so I'm about to tape up Mike's system. For Mike, we use Ultra Hold. Good tape, lasts roughly 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the your skin, how much activities, things like that you do before it breaks down. Obviously, this system's a poly band system, so what we do is we follow around the perimeter. I personally like to put a line across here as well, just so that when we do the front touch-ups at home, as I'm sure many of you do, it gives you like a anchor where you get to a certain point, the tape takes hold, and then you know not to go too much further, because sometimes people end up pulling it further and further back and they don't really know when to stop doing the glue. So with the taping up, I'm going to start at the top corner roughly of the poly. Always try to keep it as close to that edge as you can. At home I wouldn't recommend taking the tape backing off fully, I fold it over. But obviously here I tend to get it done quite quickly and quite easily. You always overlap the tape as well, even if it's just a little bit. Just makes it a lot easier when you clean. You can just pull the tape off in pretty much one full band. Makes it a lot easier to clean and get it looking good before you have to put it back on. So obviously as we get to like the back edge, looking as a curve, once you get used to it with a roll, you can tend to create a curve. You might have to cut a bit more off, but more often than not you can make it work quite easily. So what we do is we do this all the way round and across, like I said, and then when we've done that, we'll go put some glue on Mike's head and get it attached. Right then, so we've got some glue today. We're going to put on.
We're recording.
Yeah, that's it. You've got all that on tape. Make sure you put that in. So we're going to try the Ghost Bond Platinum today. So it's Good for heavy sweating, things like that. As Mike's been saying, he's planning on doing some night clubbing soon, so he's going to give this one a go. So what we do is dot it around. Obviously we're only doing the front because we only do front bond on this one because he uses tape. So when you put the glue down, make sure you put a good even coat on. It's better to do multiple coats of a thinner layer rather than, I see some people online doing like real thick layers of glue, and I can just see the issues that you're going to have with pull through and loss of hair where it's going to get up into the system. So it's best to do a couple of like thinner layers and make sure it dries fully before you attach another layer. So we always do 2 to 3 layers depending on each individual. So because Mike's going for a new fitting today, we're going to do 3 layers just to make sure we get a nice good bond, so that when we're pulling the hair with the comb to get the hair off his face so we can cut the fringe, we don't accidentally pull it up too much, and if we do, we can do a couple of little touch-ups instead of having to do a full touch-up. Right, so now we're going to do another layer. As you can see, it's gone fully clear, which means it is dry. Just spreading that layer around. Obviously with Mike as well, because like you said, I've shown in the other bits, we've just ultra hold tape. Mike as well goes after myself because his first fitting obviously was for the TV show, so we wanted to make sure it was nice and secure for him, so he wouldn't have to worry about being under the cameras, in front of the cameras and under the lights. So we use ultra hold glue at the back, which is very sticky, but you get along with it, don't you? So,
oh, very much so, yeah.
So we're going to use that as well, which I'll show you when we put it down. There you go. We're going to leave that one to dry and do one more layer, and then we're getting attached.
Alright.
Right, so, as I was saying out there, which you didn't see, Mike didn't see, but we've taped it up like this, all the way across and everything, so it gives him that anchor point I discussed. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get it on roughly in the right hairline, roll it back halfway, get the anchor point on. Then I'm going to put some ultra hold glue down, which I'll show you before I stick it down, and roll it on properly before we cut it. So if you just put your head back slightly for me, Mike. Get that hairline roughly where we want it. Roll it back, see if those dots are in the right area, which they are. And then get that band down. Gives me a good point because it means I can let go then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Mike to hold the camera slightly so that I can show you the tape and the glue. Just definitely brilliant. So this is the glue we're going to use. Walker's Ultra Hold glue. Gives you a nice, real sticky finish. As you can see, it's a bit gooey. So we just go around the edges of his head, literally just around the perimeter, because we want to go under the tape, not into the lace. Last thing we want to do with this glue is put it on lace, because it is very, very sticky and it will go straight through into the system. So once you've got all that on, take the stringy bits away. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to roll it back like you would normally. And Mike should probably start feeling it getting quite tight.
So it's always from the front backwards, yeah?
Yeah, it all depends. Some people do go back to front. It's not unadvisable, should we say. It's just to do with how comfortable people become. Some people like to make sure that the back's in the right place. It's got to take a tiny bit more hair out, just because, as I explained to Mike earlier on, when we put the template on, that's a rigid thing. The system's got a little bit more flex to it. And then we're going to stick this last bit down. So that's all down at the back. And what we do is just lift this front up, find the little bit of lace that we need to push down into the hairline. Make sure we get a nice bond. So we can get a nice hairline, so if Mike does decide to go out clubbing, he can brush it up and not have to worry. So once that's pushed down all the way around, I'm going to wipe those dots off, as, trust me, sometimes we have forgotten, and before people have walked out with them.
But you're also saying it's really important not to glue over those as well.
Yeah, if you glue over them, what tends to happen is you've got to remove all the glue around it to get it off. So you're literally going to have to pretty much like restart.
Yeah.
Because you ain't going to get them off. And also, it's also important to try to wipe them away, the dots away from the glue, like I'm doing, more so than that way. Mm-hmm. Because obviously we don't want you to push the black or whatever colour eyeliner you're using up into the glue. Same principle, you're going to have that dirty dot and you're going to have to do it all again. Right, so next thing will be, we're going to cut it. Or, I don't know, might want to leave it like that.
You know what, mate? I really am actually quite...
Big man bun.
Looking for the Tim Burton before he got paid look.
That's it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to cut it. Mike's already shown me some pictures of what he wants. Because we've done it before, we kind of know anyway. And we're going to get it all blended in. Right, so I've blended in the back of Michael's, which you haven't seen yet. But it was a bit hard to film because obviously it's just me and Michael today. So it's... got to do it bit by bit. So what we're going to do now, we're going to blend the side bit. So I thought I'd film this bit for you. So what we do, we always use a razor to blend. Reason being, we want it to look as natural as possible. And feathering in the sides is the best way. There are other ways some people do it with thinning scissors, is another way of cutting it. I just prefer to use a razor. I just think you get a better finish. Obviously the top we cut with scissors. Just this edge panel.
But essentially, at this point, you could do me whatever style I requested right now, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people got to be realistic. I mean, the odd occasion we get someone who comes in and we always have to try to talk them out of it straight away. Usually when they come in for their consies, is they come in with pictures of guys who have got full heads of real hair, with like a tram line up here, shaved in the middle of the head, all nice and blended, and you're like, in theory, you can't have that because obviously... yeah. There is a line where the system is going to be. So we've got to try to... The reason we leave these bits a bit longer and tidy is because we need to hide those bits. Some people don't want to listen to that. And I mean, we can do those kind of things where you have like the line where the system starts, but it's a lot of maintenance. Like you'll be maintaining it every other day. So I wouldn't recommend it personally. But in terms of like short choppy styles, longer styles, messy styles, they're all easy enough to do, and you know, we've done plenty of different kind of styles as you'll see on, like if you go on our websites or on our Instagrams and things. And so it's all pretty simple once you get used to it, but yeah, some people want it very high and tight, and that's not a hairstyle we can really recommend with a system. But as you can see, if I move this slightly, it's all starting to take shape. Obviously once we get more round, we get the top thinned out, cut in, we'll thin it out a little bit, get it all looking decent before he gets it all styled and off he goes. Right, so we've done the sides and back, still got to thin it out a little bit on the edges just to make sure it sits nicely. But we're just going to cut the top now. So Mike goes for a similar style to mine. Obviously when we cut a system in first couple of weeks, it always looks a bit long and a bit full. I do usually say you get about 20% banks on them. So what happens is in about a couple of weeks, a month, it'll probably drop by about 20% in terms of length and banks, but it just sits better then.
What's banks?
So obviously when you, like you say, you see them, when you put them on, quite, quite fluffy and quite big. That tends to be, we call it a bounce. After a couple of weeks of like styling it, wearing it, it tends to die down and go back to like models. Yeah, it settles a little bit. But obviously we don't want to go too short the first cut because it can't come back, it won't come back, it won't grow. When they make them that grow, I'll be well happy. But until that time, you've got to make sure we do it little bit by little bit.
I look like I'm in My Chemical Romance.
Good band. Can't blame them. Get copyright struck. So I'm just going to cut this fringe. We're going to cut it around about the eyebrows to start. Just obviously we're going to make it a little bit neater than this. This is just like a base cut so we can get you can see what's going on a bit better.
Yeah.
So next time you see the video, it'll be cut in a little bit more. We'll show you what the hairline looks like before we dry it. You can see how natural it looks this way, you see?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all cut in. We're just going to dry it off a little bit more. And then we're going to style it for you and you'll see the end product. You happy now?
I'm very happy.
Right then, so that's Mike's system all done. I think he's quite happy, looks a bit younger than what he did, which is quite ironic considering the name of the show is going to be on. So, I'm going to show you around the back and sides. Nice blended. We left it a little bit longer in the front because like we said it will settle down a bit. We'll just blend it all the way around.
You can see the difference from when I came in today. Like,
Well, yeah, I don't think we got a video with you with no air on, but we didn't see with the old system on. But with lockdown, it had taken a bit of a punishment.
yeah.
But as you can see,
But it's still, it was on, and it was still looking good.
yeah, I mean, we're going to colour it and we're going to put it away for you. So if you have any issues, we've got a spare one. But hope you're happy today. Got it all sorted, and hopefully you'll see him again soon, and then you'll all be following him on
10 years younger.
Tinder and all that. Right. Say bye.
Thank you. Bye.